said, primary amenorrhea as simple as possible. Importantly, for any female, you need to have if your Mullerian duct is not formed. Menstruation is. What is menstruation? Menstruation is basically some physiological process that happens in every female. If at all she doesn't present to you, if at all she does not experience this at all in her whole life, then you call it primary amenorrhea. If at all she used to have menstruation, then she suddenly stopped for no apparent reason for a period of more than 90 days, then you call it secondary amenorrhea. First thing was, what was primary amenorrhea? Then what is secondary amenorrhea? Basically, now we need to know if at all she has to menstruate, then she has to have a uterus. Where do you get your uterus from? From your Mullerian duct. Got it? Before I continue, can I get a yes that you people can hear me and the screen is clear? Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah. So let me continue. Now I told you about what primary amenorrhea is, then what secondary amenorrhea is. Now you need to know what happens in, like, why menstruation happens. What are the defects that can take place? First thing is, you need a proper hypothalamus. You need a good hypothalamus which secretes GnRH. If at all this is not there, then you're gonna have some defect, obviously. Then hypothalamus, where does it go? It gives signals to your pituitary. Pituitary gives FSH and LH. This acts on your ovary. This ovary releases estrogen, progesterone, basic things. Now the syndromes, if at all there is some disorder with your hypothalamus where your GnRH is not released properly. Now if at all there is some pituitary defect, now the most common most common condition where your pituitary is affected is something called your craniopharyngioma. Craniopharyngioma. First thing was Kalman syndrome. Second thing is craniopharyngioma. Now coming to the ovary part. If at all your ovary is only defective, then how much ever signals you give, it's gonna be of no use, right? That time, what are the three conditions of ovaries that we have to learn about? One is Turner syndrome. One more is pure gonadal dysgenesis, then Swayer's syndrome. Right now, out of all these things, which is the one thing that we have heard of till now? That is Turner syndrome, right? If I ask you, if at all we have learned so much about Turner syndrome, then that means it is more common, right? So the most common cause for primary amenorrhea is Turner syndrome. Makes sense? Okay, now let's go back to our uterus. Right, uterus, you all know you have estrogen stage, then estrogen comes and acts on it, it makes it thicker, then progesterone gives it birth. Now if at all these hormones are not regulated properly, obviously it is not, you're not going to menstruate. Now if I tell you there is a condition where everything, all these things are normal, this is normal, this is normal, this is normal, and even this is normal, and still she is not menstruating, can someone unmute and say what that could be? Like where the defect could lie? You might have to unmute. Did you get my question? So all I asked was, everything is normal and still she is not menstruating. Then what could it mean? It's okay. You can try. Give me some answer. Something.
She's pregnant.
Okay. No, I'm
Okay, did you
saying
ask
she's
for a
menstruating,
physiological?
but then
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, you
not
asked for some
physiological.
pathological thing.
Yeah, some pathological thing. It can be anything. Can be anything. Physiological condition, pathological condition, but not
Okay, okay.
pregnancy. So what can it be? Where can the defect be? This part is defected, right? It's not coming out. So we have to talk about a condition called imperforate hymen, right? In that case, the hymen has not been perforated, and then or the vagina, there is some obstruction, can be some tumor as well, maybe some inflammation, but mainly some obstruction which is not letting the menstrual blood go out. Cool. Now what all did we discuss? The conditions, the most common was Turner syndrome. Then the second thing we told was everything is normal, but then she's still not menstruating. That can be because of a condition called imperforate hymen. And here, and it can even be some obstruction that is there. Okay. Now we'll talk about two cases. First thing is a 13-year-old person, a 13-year-old female, or a 15-year-old or 16-year-old, she comes to you. Why does she come to you? She's telling you that she hasn't menstruated. What do you have to look for? First thing you need to look for is what about her secondary sexual characters. What are secondary sexual characters? Nothing but breast, axillary hair, pubic hair, all those things. Now before I tell you in depth about these cases, I want to walk you through the Tanner staging. This is supposed to be learned in physiology. This is nothing but physiology. What is this Tanner staging? How many stages do you have? Five stages. One, two, three, four, five. Five is normal, like she has matured, and then one is less, almost nothing, not developed much. Basically not matured, and matured. If at all I tell Tanner stage 4, it is a little, she has matured, but then axillary hair is not that thick or something like that. So this goes in that order, right? Tanner staging, you need to know what is Tanner staging. It is basically to determine the level of her secondary sexual characters. Like you're looking at her axilla or things like that, and then you're grading how much has she matured. Cool. Now here I told you need to take two cases into consideration. One with secondary sexual, if at all she comes with primary amenorrhea, you need to consider if she has secondary sexual characters, or B, she does not have secondary sexual characters. Now I'll tell you she has secondary sexual characters. Okay, first box is checked. Then what should you check for? If at all she has secondary sexual characters, you need to check for uterus. Why uterus? Because even if the uterus is absent in certain conditions, she can still have secondary sexual characters. How? That is nothing but your testis is there. This is secreting what? Testosterone. This testosterone, what is it doing? This testosterone will get converted into estrogen. This estrogen is responsible for development of breast, right? So she can have secondary sexual characters even though she might not be a female. Understood? Now what did we tell? If uterus is present, okay, if uterus is present, then she has something called cryptomenorrhea. What was cryptomenorrhea? Something I said, right? She Everything is normal but it is not coming out. That is cryptomenorrhea. Now if at all uterus is absent, if uterus is absent, then you need to consider the possibility that she might not be a female. Then you need to consider 46XY. If she is not a female, then it has to do something with your androgen insensitivity syndrome, or there can be some developmental abnormality where her Mullerian duct, what was Mullerian duct doing? It was basically giving you uterus. If uterus is not there, then how will you menstruate? You can't menstruate, right? Now case B, she is telling she doesn't have, you examine her, there is no secondary sexual characters. Then what do? You look at the height. In Turner's patient, what was the classic feature? She is short, right? In Turner she is short. What is Turner's most common cause for primary amenorrhea? Here you need to check for the height of the patient. If at all she is short, then 99% she's gonna have Turner syndrome. Okay. If at all her height is normal, then you can have one of these: pure gonadal dysgenesis, then Swayer's syndrome, and then Kalman syndrome. Okay, now let me come to cryptomenorrhea. I got it right. Imperforate or transverse vaginal septum or vaginal atresia. Now coming to cryptomenorrhea, I'm gonna tell you how your development takes place of your vagina. You have the upper part and the lower part. This upper part of your vagina is basically formed from your Mullerian duct. What's it formed from? The Mullerian duct. The lower part is formed from your urogenital sinus, right? Urogenital sinus. So what can I say is your vagina is developed from two parts. One is your Mullerian duct, other one is your urogenital sinus. Now these two come in contact with each other, and then this lumen, then they form a lumen. Now in my developmental anomaly, they come together, and then this there is no perforation, right? Then what can I have? How will the menstrual blood flow out? It's not gonna flow out, right? That was my development. Now, what does vaginal atresia mean? Vaginal atresia does not necessarily have to mean that your whole vagina is not there, right? It can mean that the last part, the urogenital side, gives out a part of vagina, right? That part is absent. Okay, that is what cryptomenorrhea means. Cryptomenorrhea means your uterus is there, everything is there, she's menstruating, it's not coming out. Why it's not coming out? There is no proper lumen for it to come out. Why it is not there? Because of some formation of vagina issue. How is vagina formed? You need to know that it is formed from your Mullerian duct and your urogenital sinus. Okay, this is how it can look. Okay, how do you treat it? Very simple. If at all I have a condition like this, the vagina is formed over here. It's just that my septum is not there. So what do? I make a incision over here. That's all. Very easy to treat this. Okay. Now we'll go to Mullerian agenesis. Mullerian agenesis. After learning all this, in the first part, I told you there are those syndromes, right? Then there is a possibility that the person can be a male. So, what is the best test that we can do? Is it a can clinical examination be considered as some investigation or a very good investigation? No, right? So there is some test that we do to check if at all she is actually a male or a female, which will give you a definitive answer. What is that? What test is that? Can one of you guys unmute and tell? My question is, how do you test if she is a male, or if that person is a male or a female? The best way to know.
Karyotyping.
Yeah, karyotyping. Yes, exactly. So we can do something called karyotyping, right? That is the best way to know what is the cause for primary amenorrhea. That becomes your investigation of choice. What I told you, Mullerian agenesis, there can be condition where your Mullerian duct is not at all formed. Now I'll ask you, if can there be a condition where a part of your Mullerian duct be formed, and then will that lead to what do I call primary amenorrhea? Yes, right? Even if a part of it is formed, it can lead to primary amenorrhea. Okay, now if at all the person has Mullerian agenesis, can she have her own babies? Yes or no? I'm saying she has Mullerian agenesis. Now I'm asking, can she have her own children? I need someone to unmute and tell yes or no. Yes. Why? Because there's nothing wrong with her ovaries, right? So obviously she can have her own kids. Now we'll move on to another simple topic. This is very conceptual. I liked it a lot. Now this is nothing but your androgen insensitivity syndrome. Using what? Testosterone. Testosterone. Now you have a condition where the androgen, that is the testis, is producing androgen, right? This androgen is not how much ever the testis produces androgens, that is not being acted upon. Why? Because there is some problem with the receptors. Oh god. Yeah, yeah, there is some problem with the receptors. Now what can happen? See, during development, we all have Wolffian duct and Mullerian duct. Okay, we all have Wolffian duct and Mullerian duct. Now, if at all you're a male, then you're gonna have testis, no doubt. If you're a female, you're gonna have ovaries. Common sense. Now, what two cells your testis has? One is your Sertoli cells. Other cells are your Leydig cells. Your Leydig your Leydig cells produce what? Androgens. What do your Sertoli cells produce? They produce something called your Mullerian inhibiting hormone. So these Sertoli cells produce your Mullerian inhibiting hormone. This is very important. Why? Because this Mullerian inhibiting hormone is responsible for the degeneration of your Mullerian duct. What did we have? We had both Wilfian and your Mullerian duct. Now, since this Mullerian duct was there, because you have testes, these testes produce something called Mullerian inhibiting hormone, because of which the Mullerian duct will degenerate. What is happening? Mullerian duct is degenerating. Why? Because your testis is producing it. Right now, if at all, for wait, if it, when you're born, if at all, let's say during development, are you a male first or a female first? You're a female first. This is an easier way to remember it. Then because of your androgen, you will grow a testis and your penis, right? If at all this androgen is not able to act on your cells, this process won't happen. So there won't be development of penis. Right now, since there is no development of penis and scrotum and all those things, what are you what have you end up with? You have end up with your testes, which were initially abdominal organs. Now they'll continue to remain in your abdomen. Now what do you have in primary in androgens and insensitivity syndrome? You have androgen insensitivity, because of which there is no development of penis and scrotum. Because of this, there is your testis is not coming down. Where is your testis? It is not coming down. Where is your testis? It is your abdominal organ. Now, since it is your abdominal organ, you have a person who has external genitalia that looks like a female, and on top of that, let's say in 16 years or something like that, now you deliver it. For every child, are you doing a karyotype test? No, right? You're not karyotyping every child. You look at it and then you'll tell, okay, fine, this is a female or a male, and then you will write the gender, write the gender. Now, write the gender. Now, what has the child believed? She believes that she is a female, no matter what, right? That child can have 45, 46 XY, but then everyone thought that she is a girl, so she grows up to be a girl. Now, after she has grown up to be a girl, what happens? Around the age of 13 to 15 years, even though she has developed breast. Why did she develop breast? I told you, right? Your testosterone gets converted to estrogen, where in near your fat cells, right? This estrogen is responsible for the development of breast. Now, actually, what is it? It's gynecomastia, right? But then, she, since she's not going to menstruate, she's gonna come to you, and then she's gonna say, "See, doctor, I think I'm not menstruating. Please tell me why." Now you have to tell her. What will you tell the parents? You got the karyotype done, you got everything done, you find out that it is androgen insensitivity syndrome. What two options you have? Either A, tell the parents that she is supposed to be a boy, and then you have to make sure that she grows up like a boy, or you tell them that let her continue to be a girl only. What do you think is the right response? I want your answer now. So I have a condition where the person has primary androgen insensitivity. Here, what did I tell? The Tanner staging, she has breast, right? Well matured breast, around 4 or 5. Then axillary hair. What is responsible for growth of axillary hair? Testosterone. So even her axillary and pubic hair have what they are developed pretty well. So her secondary sexual characters are good, but the only issue she has is about menstruation. But then you find out in your karyotype that it is not a she, it is a he. What will you tell the parents? Will you tell them to continue as a girl only, or will you tell them to treat her like a guy? Just be a girl. Yes, correct. Now, what? Just be a girl, and then will you leave the testis inside? Yes or no? Is it safe to leave the testis inside? Yes or no? Yes, it is safe to leave, or no, it is not safe to leave. No. Yeah. Why? Because she can develop a testicular tumor, right? That is why you operate on the testes and you remove it. Now, if at all main source of estrogen is gone, right? Because testosterone, if testosterone is estrogen, if that estrogen is not there, then uh, will her breast continue to develop? No, right? So what is the what can you do? What is something that you have to do here? Once you operate, you need to make sure that you give her supplements of estrogen. For how long are you going to supplement her estrogen? Is it for some, let's say, till 40 years, or is it lifelong? Option A is 40 years, or option B is lifelong, guys? A or B? Option A was you're going to supplement her estrogen only till 40 years, or option B is you're going to supplement her estrogen for throughout her life. Yes, correct. Lifelong. Correct. Now let's go. Now that is done with your androgen insensitivity syndrome, right? Basically, that is everything you need to know. Now there is some condition where there is a condition where she can be there can be partial androgen insensitivity. Okay, here you need to know that androgen insensitivity has two things. One is X-linked and the other one is not X-linked. X-linked, there are two types: complete androgen insensitivity and partial androgen insensitivity. Now let's discuss about complete androgen insensitivity. Done. Partial androgen insensitivity, this becomes a little tricky. Why? Because even though everything suggests that she is going to be it's something. You're not going to do karyotype at birth. You're not going to do karyotype at birth, right? So what are you going to do? You can't do karyotyping at birth. It is just that it is partially sensitive to testosterone. Then again, same issue. It's not gonna The organ is not gonna develop properly. Like I said, first we are all what? We are all females, then we become males, right? Even though there is some receptivity, there is some sensitivity, it is not enough, right? There's something called virilization. What does virilization mean? This Whatever female organs that the female has, right, the clitoris and vagina and all those things, they are going to be enlarged. What is going to happen? They're going to be enlarged. That's all. That is called virilization. Okay, simple terms. Now, because of this enlargement, you will still say it is a female at birth. What are you going to say? It's a female at birth. And did I if at all now you are all experts, since it's a female at birth, will the testes be able to come down? No, they won't be allowed to descend. Since they are not allowed to descend, what is something else that you can worry about? You have to worry about removing the testis, and the other thing is you need to worry about see, since it's in the abdominal organ, there's no doubt you're going to have inguinal hernia. So there's always a complication for inguinal hernia. If you have a big complication of cancer, you really don't need to worry, break your head over inguinal hernia. But you need to consider the possibility that yes, there is a chance for inguinal hernia. Okay, same thing's going to happen. Anti-Malarian hormone, got it? Then you have the Wolffian duct. This Wolffian duct will grow. So she will have some sort. There will be some growth. That's all. But still, there is virilization. Virilization is told by your clitoromegaly, and then your fusion of your labiosacral scrotal fold. Sorry. Then what do we do? Again, like I said, consider it as female. Then partial sensitivity. So what is she going to have when she comes to you? She's obviously going to have some male like characters, masculine characters, right? So there can be facial hair, there can be good growth of muscles, there can be broad chest and all those things. That is something very different from your androgen insensitivity. Complete androgen insensitivity, you did not have masculine features. In partial androgen insensitivity, you had more masculine features, then you had clitoromegaly as well. Okay, again, I've covered those things. Simple, easy. Now, Riefenstein syndrome, it is also a type of androgen insensitivity, but this is really less. Okay, but then even any type of androgen insensitivity, you're having two types. One is Sertoli cells and one is your Leydig cells. This is giving you testosterone. Then Sertoli cells are giving you Mullerian inhibiting hormone. This Mullerian inhibiting hormone, obviously, your Mullerian duct is gone. Since this androgen insensitivity is there, there can be Wolffian duct partial growth. Okay, there can be like partial development of scrotum and all those things, because of which you will consider this as a male child. Why? See, there is some sort of insensitivity, but that insensitivity is really less. Since there is some sort of insensitivity, will the development be normal? No, it's not going to be normal. So the scrotum is going to be small, and the penis is also going to be very small. That is what you're supposed to know here. Then what can you call this? You can call this an under virilized male. Will there be infertility? Obviously it's going to be infertile. Now, one thing I remembered it like was, you have cells. Since these are uh, partially insensitive or some sort of insensitivity to androgen is there, like your testosterone, right? So what will your body think? Your body think it is not producing enough testosterone, so it will ramp up the production of testosterone. Since it has ramped up the production of testosterone, this in turn gets converted to estrogen. This estrogen goes and acts on your breast, causes gynecomastia. Right. Now, what is the main difference between your rifanstin and incomplete androgen insensitivity? Incomplete androgen insensitivity, you have virilization of your female. Here in rifanstin, you have virilization of your male. Okay. Then Turner syndrome, I don't think there's not much to explain. You don't have the X chromosome, there'll be streak gonads, and then she's gonna have short and all those things. Yeah, that's all. That was what I wanted to take today. And if I take the other things, I think it's gonna be too long. We'll see some other time. Okay? Did you understand, guys? So, or this is not very important. Like if you wanna leave, you can leave. I'm just gonna tell you like a few things that you need to know. First, what did we learn? We learned what was primary amenorrhea and secondary amenorrhea. Primary amenorrhea was what? Primary amenorrhea, she said that she has not had menstrual cycle at all. What can be the causes of your primary amenorrhea? There are so many causes, some dysgenesis, some gonadal dysgenesis, some Kalman syndrome. Okay, fine, but what is something that we know? We know Turner's, so that is most common. Something we know is most common, obviously. Then what was something else we had to know? Here we had to know that karyotyping is the investigation of choice. Karyotyping. And one thing that we got to know was, even though karyotyping is supposed to be used, because a person who is a female can, there are chances that he is a male. So karyotyping is not actually used. But then, if at all someone asks you the most common form of identifying a gender or identifying sex of a person is by looking at the person. That's all. Looking at external genitalia. That's all. Okay. Then after that, what did we learn? We learned about androgen insensitivity syndrome. In androgen insensitivity, you learned that there is X-linked and there is not X-linked. Then in X-linked, you had to complete androgen insensitivity and incomplete androgen insensitivity. In complete androgen insensitivity, there is absolutely, your cells are not at all receptive to your testosterone. Since they're not at all receptive to your testosterone, all this testosterone is converted into estrogen. So what do you have? You have development of breast, good development of breast. What type of Tanner staging? I can say Tanner stage 5. Okay. But then in incomplete androgen insensitivity, what do you have? Your cells, the cells are partially, or like to some extent, they are receptive. But then why there is no development of uterus? It is because, will you have ovary? You're not going to have ovary in both. Because why? There is the chromosome is XY. You're not going to have ovary. But then why you don't have Mullerian duct is because of this hormone produced by hormone called Mullerian inhibiting hormone. Where is it produced? It's produced in your Sertoli cells. Next, since Sertoli cells, okay, testosterone done. In testosterone, there is some sort of incomplete sensitivity, that time we can say that the person there, it will be a female that is virilized. What is this? A female that is virilized. Will she have TANF staging 5 for her breast? No, 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 it's not gonna be there, right? So there will TANF stage 3 and TANF stage 2. Okay, then what is necessary for your axillary and pubic hair to mature? Basically your testosterone. This testosterone is basically cause for the main cause for maturation of axillary and pubic hair. Now, based on that, we have come to your what is that partial Riefenstein syndrome. Riefenstein syndrome is very, very, very less androgen insensitivity. We can grade it. This is highest grade, high grade. Okay, this is severe. This is moderate, and then this is mild. Since it is mild, the male tries to take over. So what happens? The testis can be abdominal or can descend mostly abdominal. Then you'll have underdeveloped scrotum, underdeveloped penis. On top of that, you're gonna have virilization. What is again virilization? Where you can have some female characters like gynecomastia. Why gynecomastia? More estrogen. And what was one physiological condition where everything is normal and still there's no menstruation? Because of some obstruction. Why obstruction? Because you have your Mullerian duct, which is producing vagina, and your urogenital sinus, which is producing the lower one third.